Welcome to the Own Your Day AI podcast, powered by RescueTime. Here we turn RescueTime's blog posts into engaging conversations that help you learn and grow. Let's get started.
You know that feeling, just constant busyness. It feels like everyone's juggling a million things.
It's almost become the norm, hasn't it?
Totally. But what happens when that juggling act starts to feel less productive and more just, well, draining?
Yeah, like a slow leak instead of, forward motion.
Exactly. We've all felt stressed, obviously.
Yeah.
But today we want to talk about something deeper, something that happens when that pressure just doesn't let up.
We're taking a deep dive into burnout.
Burnout.
Yeah.
Right. It's a term we hear a lot, but let's really try to nail down what it means.
Well, Dr. Christina Maslach, who's done a lot of the key research, she defines it as a prolonged response to chronic interpersonal stressors on the job.
Prolonged, chronic. So not just a bad week.
Definitely not. Think persistent exhaustion, maybe feeling increasingly cynical or detached from your work.
And that feeling of just not being effective, like you're spinning your wheels.
Exactly. That loss of efficacy is a huge part of it.
There's another description I found helpful from Dr. Sharmila Dissanayake.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
She paints this picture. Someone who's just stressed might show up late to drinks after work, looking totally frazzled, you know?
We've all seen that. Or been that.
Right. But the person experiencing burnout, they just don't show up at all.
That really captures the depletion, doesn't it? The loss of motivation, the sheer lack of energy.
And it's not rare. Some studies suggest, nearly a quarter to over half of workers have dealt with it or are dealing with it now?
It's incredibly prevalent, and the World Health Organization now calls it an occupational phenomenon. That's significant.
It is. But there's still this stigma sometimes, isn't there? Like, it's a personal failing if you burn out.
There absolutely is. And that's why understanding it, really getting what it is, what causes it, how to spot it, is so crucial for our well-being.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, right?
Exactly. We want to unpack burnout, help
Yeah.
you recognize the signs, maybe in yourself, maybe in others.
Understand where it comes from.
Yep, the sources. And crucially, talk about strategies for recovery and prevention.
And do it in a way that gives you useful knowledge without, adding more overwhelm.
Precisely. Actionable insights.
Okay, let's get into it then. Burnout syndrome. How is it truly different from just being wiped out after a long week?
It's the persistence of that fatigue. That's the key. Regular tiredness, you rest, you feel better.
Right, a good night's sleep, a weekend off.
Usually helps. But with burnout, that deep, bone-weary feeling, it just doesn't lift, even after rest.
The wake up still feeling drained.
Exactly. And Dr. Maslach actually broke burnout down into 3 sort of core types or facets, which can help clarify what's going on.
Okay, that sounds useful. What are they?
So the first one she called individual burnout. This is often tied to our internal world.
What are our thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, that harsh inner critic, constant negative self-talk, feeling like you're not good enough.
Perfectionism, too. Setting those impossible standards.
Definitely. That feeling that nothing's ever quite right, that you could always be doing more, better. It just grinds you down from the inside.
Okay, so that's one type. What's next?
Then there's interpersonal burnout. This comes from difficult relationships, strain, friction.
At work, you mean? Or
It could be work like a really difficult boss or maybe a toxic colleague you have to deal with constantly. But it can also stem from stressful relationships outside of work, too.
those ongoing negative interactions just drain your battery.
Absolutely. Research even shows that kind of prolonged social stress can trigger similar physical stress responses to actual physical threats. It's that taxing.
Wow. Okay. And the third type?
That's organizational burnout. And this one points more towards the system, the workplace itself.
How so?
Think poor organization, maybe unclear structures, crazy high demands, deadlines that are just completely unrealistic.
So you constantly feel like you're set up to fail.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And maybe worried about your job security because of it. It's that feeling of being overwhelmed by the structure or lack thereof.
It really sounds like it's often not just about the individual then.
Oh, absolutely not. While how we cope matters, of course, it's very rarely just a personal failing. The environment plays a massive role.
The workplace itself can create the conditions for burnout.
Exactly. The co-editors of the Burnout Research e-journal made a great point about this. They basically asked, why do we focus so much on the individual employee when the workplace itself might be poorly designed, socially toxic, or even exploitative?
That's a really critical perspective. The focus needs to be broader.
It really does.
Okay, so if it's not just being stressed, How do we start to notice the signs? What are the signals that maybe things are heading towards burnout or we're already there?
Catching it early is so important for recovery, and it goes beyond just feeling tired.
Right.
The first big one is that chronic fatigue we talked about, but really ask yourself, do you consistently wake up feeling unrested?
Like even after 8 hours sleep.
Yeah. Or do you feel like you're moving through your day in slow motion, like wading through mud? Do small, everyday tasks suddenly feel like huge efforts? Do you find yourself dreading the day ahead regularly? That kind of profound exhaustion.
And it can show up physically too, right?
Oh, definitely. Getting sick more often, maybe stomach issues, headaches. Your body is signaling that it's depleted.
Those are really clear warning signs. What's another key symptom?
The second one is cynicism and detachment. This is more than just having an off day or being grumpy.
How does it manifest?
It's like this persistent emotional distance. You might find yourself preoccupied with escaping work even when you're not there.
Daydreaming about quitting or just being anywhere else?
Exactly. You might notice yourself becoming more pessimistic, maybe more distrustful of colleagues or management or even
That's
friends.
sort of pulling away.
Yeah, a real sense of isolation. Ask yourself, are you more irritable, less patient, especially at work?
Skipping work social things you used to maybe enjoy.
That's a classic sign. Or calling in sick more often, just withdrawing.
Okay, that makes sense. A kind of emotional retreat. What's the third indicator?
That's the diminished sense of accomplishment, feeling ineffective.
Like what you do doesn't matter.
Precisely. That really disheartening feeling that your work isn't making a difference. You might struggle to see how your tasks fit into the bigger picture or connect to any real goals.
Feeling overwhelmed by it all.
Constantly overwhelmed and maybe finding yourself giving up on things more easily than you used to, just feeling like, what's the point?
So again, some reflective questions might help here.
Yeah, ask yourself, do you feel like your contributions are meaningless? Is it hard to see the value in what you do day to day? Does it feel like there's just too much piled on and not enough time or energy to even make a dent?
That loss of seeing progress is really demotivating.
Hugely. It eats away at your drive.
Okay, so we have the signs: chronic fatigue, cynicism, detachment, feeling ineffective. Now, what about the causes? What are those red flags in our work or life that often lead to this state?
Right, because burnout rarely comes out of the blue. It's usually a buildup, compounding issues.
So what are some common workplace risks?
Unreasonable time pressures are a big one. Just constantly feeling like you're behind, never having enough time to actually do the work properly.
Your whole day is meetings and emails, and then you have actual work to do. When?
Exactly. And then pile unrealistic deadlines on top of that. It's a recipe for feeling frantic and ineffective.
Definitely draining.
What else?
Lack of communication and support from managers. This is huge.
How so?
Well, Gallup research consistently shows this people who feel strongly supported by their manager are way less likely to burn out, like 70% less likely.
Wow, 70%. That's massive.
It is. So conversely, if your manager is, say, really indecisive, or seems neglectful, or is overly critical,
That creates frustration.
cynicism.
Absolutely. You feel disconnected, maybe unsupported, also unclear responsibilities, not knowing what you're supposed to be prioritizing.
It's like trying to drive in fog. You waste so much energy just trying to figure out where to go.
Perfectly put. Then there's just unmanageable workloads. Plain and simple. Too much work, even for really capable people.
And sometimes the best performers get loaded up the most, right?
That happens a lot. Also, weak time management principles, not necessarily individual failing, but maybe the team culture, all that multitasking and context switching.
It feels productive, but it's actually not.
Research suggests it can tank your productivity significantly. You
Yeah.
feel busy, exhausted, but haven't actually moved the needle much.
I recognize that feeling.
Right.
Any other workplace factors?
Excessive collaboration can be one. If you're constantly pulled into meetings and group things and can't get your own focused work done.
Feeling like you don't control your own time.
Exactly. And a really big one, especially now, lack of boundaries around work.
The always-on culture. Emails at 10 p.m., Slack on weekends.
Yep. It makes it incredibly hard to truly disconnect, rest, and recover. Those daily stresses just keep piling up because there's no real off switch.
Whereas actually disconnecting is key.
Totally. Research shows that psychological detachment from work, really switching off, leads to less fatigue, lower burnout risk, and actually greater job satisfaction.
So it's this mix of demands from the outside and maybe our own difficulty in setting or enforcing boundaries.
It's often a combination, and it reinforces that point. While personal habits matter, the environment, the management, the culture, They are massive contributors.
Right. Okay, so we understand burnout better. We know the signs. We see the potential causes. Let's shift gears. Solutions. What can we actually do about it? How do we recover, or even better, prevent it?
Okay, yes, actionable steps. This is about taking back some control over your time and energy.
Where do we start?
A really fundamental step is just paying more attention to your stressors, what's actually causing the pressure, and then actively trying to reduce the unnecessary ones.
Unnecessary ones, like what?
Well, Dr. Emma Sapala talks about this busyness paradox. We think being constantly busy means we're productive, but
But our systems aren't built for that constant high alert.
exactly, we need downtime, we need recovery. Modern work culture often overrides that basic need.
So we need to get intentional, not just accept busy as the default state.
Precisely. Identify your specific stressors. Is it those crazy deadlines, constant interruptions, unpredictable schedules, maybe technostress feeling overwhelmed by tools, scope creep on projects, difficult colleagues?
Okay, identify them. Then what?
Then you might need to have some honest conversations. Talk to your manager about workload or deadlines, maybe push back gently. Bridget Schultz uses this great term, positive friction.
Positive friction. What does that mean?
It means making the cost of unproductive things more visible. Like if a meeting seems pointless, maybe question if it's really needed or if your attendance is crucial. Make people think twice before demanding your time unnecessarily.
I like that. Making the cost apparent. Okay, what's another strategy?
Get a really clear picture of where your time is actually going. Do a time audit.
A time audit. How does that work?
It's basically 3 steps. First, set your intentions. How do you want to be spending your time and energy? What are your priorities?
Okay. Intentions first.
Second, track your time meticulously for a period. See how you're actually spending it. There are tools like RescueTime that can automate a lot of this.
Gather the data.
Right. And third, analyze that data.
Mhm.
Compare your intentions with reality. Where are the gaps? Where are the surprises? Then make an action plan to adjust.
So it's about aligning how you spend your time with how you want to spend your time.
Exactly. Bringing awareness and intentionality to it.
Makes sense. What else helps fight burnout?
Regularly revisit your priorities.
Yep.
Are they still realistic? Still valid? Do they connect to your bigger goals? We can easily get overloaded by saying yes to everything.
Learning to say no or not now.
Absolutely. Being more discerning. There's a concept from Gigi Griffiths, the only thing you have to do today.
Okay.
It's about identifying that single most important task for the day. Focusing on achieving that one thing can really cut through the overwhelm of a giant to-do list and give you a sense of accomplishment,
One key thing. That feels much more manageable.
doesn't it? Another big one is bringing more structure into your day.
Structure. Like a rigid schedule. Some people resist that.
It might sound counterintuitive, but structure can actually reduce stress. It cuts down on decision fatigue, constantly figuring out what to do next.
Okay, so less mental energy wasted on planning throughout the day.
Exactly. Think about time blocking. Set aside specific chunks of time for focused work, and then this is key, protect that time.
Turn off notifications.
Yeah.
Let people know you're unavailable.
Yes. Use focus tools if they help. Set expectations about when you'll respond to emails or messages, and crucially, schedule regular breaks. Don't just power through.
Even short breaks help.
Absolutely. Especially if you can get outside for a few minutes, it really helps clear your head.
So creating a framework that supports focus and rest.
You got it.
A
And related to that is creating a wind-down ritual at the end of the workday.
wind-down ritual,
Yeah.
like deliberately switching off.
Yes. Actively creating that boundary between work and non-work life. Signal to your brain and body. The workday is done. Time to relax and recover.
What might that look like?
It could be simple. Disconnect from work devices, phone, laptop. Maybe spend some quiet time alone. Read a book. Listen to music. Do a hobby.
Something totally unrelated to work.
Definitely. Maybe a quick tidy up of your workspace. Make a to-do list for tomorrow so it's out of your head. Close all the work tabs. Just a clear closing ceremony.
Dr. Sherry Carter also talks about protecting your weekends, right? Making them truly restful.
Yes, that's vital for resetting your system. Avoid cramming them full of chores or, worse, more work.
Okay, that deliberate disconnection sounds key. What other mindset shifts can help?
Focus on progress, not just the huge end goal. This is really important.
Celebrating small wins.
Exactly. Teresa Amabill's research shows that making progress on meaningful work is incredibly motivating and boosts positive emotions.
Right.
Burnout often makes us feel stuck, like we're making no progress at all.
So break things down.
Break down those big projects into smaller, manageable steps, and then consciously acknowledge when you complete one, okay, I did that. Even use tools to track your progress visually if that helps reinforce it.
Shifting focus from the overwhelming mountain to the next step you just took.
Precisely. Another strategy is building self-awareness about your own burnout signs through regular reflection.
Checking in with yourself.
Yeah. Burnout often creeps up slowly. We might ignore the early signs. So schedule time, maybe weekly, monthly, just to reflect. How am I feeling? What's working? What's draining me? Where am I heading?
How does reflection help specifically?
Research shows it improves learning, boosts performance, and increases self-efficacy, that belief in your own ability to handle things. That's a powerful counter to the helplessness burnout can bring.
Like taking your own emotional temperature regularly.
Kind of, yeah. And then, of course, there's direct self-care.
Making time for yourself, which often feels like the first thing to go when we're busy.
Exactly why we need to prioritize it. Put your health, mental and physical first. It's not selfish, it's necessary.
So what kind of self-care are we talking about?
It doesn't have to be elaborate. Focused breathing exercises for a few minutes can calm your nervous system. Those short, frequent breaks we mentioned. Engaging in hobbies you actually enjoy, especially things that involve movement or creativity.
Anne Lamott had that quote about daily rituals being like knots on a rope when you feel like you're at the end of it.
That's beautiful and so true. Those small, consistent acts anchor you.
Okay. What's the final strategy you'd highlight?
Find and nurture your support network. Don't try to tough it out alone.
Connection is important.
Hugely important. Dr. Maslach's work really emphasizes this. Talk to trusted friends, family, seek out mentors or coaches, connect with supportive colleagues.
People who get it.
Yeah. And build relationships outside work, too. Hobbies, community groups. That connection counteracts the isolation and cynicism that are so common in burnout.
It sounds like recovery is definitely possible, but it takes a multifaceted approach. Addressing the environment, our habits, our mindset, our connections.
It really does. And the good news is there are resources out there. Help for individuals to rebuild focus and passion, and also, importantly, more guidance now for managers on how to create healthier team environments and prevent burnout proactively.
That Frank Camaro quote you mentioned earlier really stuck with me. Fatigue happens to your body, but burnout exhausts your soul.
It's powerful, isn't it? It really underscores that burnout is a signal, a sign that something significant needs to change.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. Key takeaways. Burnout is serious. It's more than stress. It comes from chronic pressure.
It has distinct signs: exhaustion, cynicism, ineffectiveness, and it has multiple causes, often systemic and environmental, not just individual.
But crucially, there are concrete things we can do. Strategies for prevention, strategies for recovery.
Absolutely. Understanding all this, what it is, where it comes from, how to deal with it, that's a real investment in your health and happiness.
It can genuinely lead to a better, more balanced life, work, and otherwise.
No doubt about it.
So, a final thought for everyone listening. Take a moment, just reflect on your own levels of busyness, your own stress. Is anything feeling chronic?
And if so, what's one small thing, just one step you could take today to maybe push back a little? Prioritize your well-being.
Maybe it's revisiting one of these strategies we talked about, like scheduling a real break or identifying just one unnecessary stressor you could tackle.
Remember, even those small steps done consistently can make a really big difference in avoiding that soul exhaustion of burnout.
Thanks for joining us on the Own Your Day AI podcast, powered by RescueTime. We're here to help you turn insights into action for a more productive and balanced life. Be sure to subscribe and visit our blog for more resources. See you next time.